Hey everybody, Dr. Kronk here from TheChiroFix, and today I'm going to teach you, or at least get you familiar with a very fundamental movement that everyone should be able to do, literally everyone. And surprisingly, a lot of people can't do it very well, and it's called a hip hinge. And the reason behind showing you this is because obviously as a chiropractor I get a lot of people with low back issues, and quite often there could be a number of factors there, but quite often it's underlying movement and stability issues that are causing the low back pain. And I can do some adjustments and I can do some muscle work on them, but if I don't work on some of these fundamental movements that they should be able to do very well, very easily, it's just going to come back pretty much every time. So this is one of the first things I'll teach you, or teach anyone coming into the clinic that has a history of low back pain, at least to make sure that you can do it. And quite often someone with chronic low back pain, surprisingly enough, has a difficult time with this particular movement. So all you need to do this is a PVC pipe, a broom, a stick, anything like this, and I'll show you what to do here. So what happens is a lot of people, when they say bend forward, lean over to pick up something, what they'll do is they'll shift back a little bit, but they'll tend to round with their spine. You see how my lumbar spine is rounded here, and the issue is that if someone has a disc injury or some kind of injury to the lumbar spine, some of the tissues in there, this can actually really hurt. It can actually cause spinal compression. For some of us may not have a huge issue with that, but some people might be very sensitive to it. And it makes it difficult, say, getting up from a chair or getting up out of the car, or you doing anything, almost picking up something off the floor, picking up a kid. That's a common complaint I get. People will have pain picking up their kids. So this hip hinge pattern is very universal, and that is something you can use when you're doing all these, or a movement you can use and should be fundamental when doing any of these things. So the way it works is I'm teaching people how to move through the hips versus with the spine. You can see the difference there. And this is a great way to get some tactile feedback on how to do this. So you have the pipe, and I'm contacting it basically on the back of my head here, between my shoulder blades, and on my sacrum on this area. So you can see from the side, it's forcing me to have a neutral spine. Now my feet, I know you can't see them here, but they're about shoulder width apart. Knees are slightly bent. And all I'm doing is I'm hinging forward through the hips. My butt naturally goes back a little bit, but through this whole movement, I have a neutral spine. Now, what this does is actually forces you to have some semblance of spinal stability and actually use the hips for the movement, because that is what the hips are designed for. That is what the glutes are designed to do. They're supposed to control that hip flexion and control that extension piece. And so this is actually retraining your glutes and the musculature of the pelvis to do this movement and decrease the load that exists on the lumbar spine. Quite often I'll get someone in the clinic that has a history of, I had one recently, low back pain for about 10 years, very difficult time getting up and down out of a chair. Within just a few minutes going through these hip hinging patterns, this person was able to get up out of the chair pretty much pain-free. So sometimes low back pain seems like this complex thing that there's no answer for, or you haven't had any answers for, and quite often it's very simple fundamental movements. So if you're someone who has low back pain, I would suggest practicing this hip hinging pattern. You do 2 or 3 sets of 10. There's no really magic set reps number here, but usually 2 or 3 sets of whatever is comfortable. If you feel pain doing this, check your position. See if the pipe is still on your back. See if you're still connected in all those spots. A lot of times it's not. One of the things I'll see most when people come to the clinic, if they have a hard time with it, is they'll put the pipe on their back, they'll bend forward, but they're still rounding the back, and so they lose contact right here. See all this space? You shouldn't have that. So you reset, start over, make sure that contact is there, then again, hinge forward at the hips. It's a very safe way to move. And it actually, for my weightlifters that come in quite often, this actually is kind of the precursor to the deadlift. And so if you are someone who is doing deadlifting or doing squats as part of your programming and you can't execute a good hip hinge, then you have a problem. But at any rate, even if you don't have a history of low back pain, this is a good movement pattern to ingrain in you, and it'll translate to the rest of your life. Again, getting up and down off a chair, getting off the toilet, picking up your kids, getting out of the car, working at your job, picking up objects. Hip hinging is how you want to do it, because it makes your hips work and takes the stress off the low back. If you have any questions about this, you can message me on Facebook, or you can email me info@thechirofix.com, or look us up and give us a call. Thank you very much.